Okay, so we're going to be talking about media queries right now. So, what is a media query? Media query is where the browser is queried to see how wide the it could be the wide, as you can see here, width and height of the viewport, the width and height of the device, orientation, whether it's landscape or portrait, and whatever the resolution is. We can set, and you can see that you can get fairly elaborate with your media query, saying, well, if it's this resolution, then show this. If it's not that resolution, or it's less than that resolution, do something else. We're simply going to be doing the width of the viewport. So support for that, all browsers support media queries, so we don't have to worry about that. And then there's notation that we're going to use, but the easiest thing to do is go down to the example. Alright, so here's the example of a media query. So we're going to go ahead and take this, and we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back into my Sublime text, and at the very bottom I'm going to paste it in. And there's my media query. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it a little bit different than what they have there. Okay, so what it's telling us here that at once it's above 480 pixels, it's going to use this. So what we're going to want to do now is we want to change that, because remember 880 was our breakpoint. So at 880 pixels we want to do something. So we really don't want to change the background. We wouldn't be able to see it really. So if we come back here, what I do is I try to find something that I can change. So I'm just going to change this H1 tag. And I'm going to change the color so that as this gets bigger and smaller, this color will change, telling me that I've hit that breakpoint or that it's actually working. So what we want to do is we're going to go up here and take a look. So that's going to be header H1, right? So I'm going to be using this one, not body. Come back here. And instead of body, we're going to use header H1. Instead of background color, it'll just be color. And let's make that, I think, yellow. Oh, let's make it red. That's nice. Alright, so now if I do a file and save all, and then we'll come back to our page and then refresh, you can see that it is red. And that, I don't have the thing open. So when it gets smaller, so you can see when it hits the breakpoint, it goes back to black. So no matter how big this gets, once it's above 880, boom, it's going to stay red. And then when it drops below it, so once everything breaks, then it's going to turn to black. Alright, so that's how we know what we're going to be doing, or how we know we're not going to keep that. In fact, I'll keep it for now, but I'm going to change it, get rid of that from each of my media queries. But for now, it allows me to know, okay, well, that's working, because other than that, I would not know. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we need to change the navigation structure, or the style for the navigation. Alright, so let's go find the navigation. There it is. Okay, so there is the nav. And what we want to do is we really just want to change the anchor tag, because this is the thing that's making it the size that it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to move this down into my media query. So this is the end of my header. So I'm going to press enter and paste it in. Alright, and then I'm going to take these, and I'm going to select them and press tab. That moves them over. I'm going to take this and move this over, because this is the end of my nav tag. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to say end of 880 pixels, and select that. Since we're going to have more than one media query, it's good to know where it stops and starts. So I'm going to hold down Control key and press the slash button, and that's going to put that comment in there. And now I know that this brace here closes this off. All right. So what is it that I want to have done? Alright, so I want to keep it as a block, so I don't need this because we're not changing that. So I'm going to delete it. If I keep it there, it doesn't hurt anything, but we don't want to have any extra stuff there that we don't need. I'm not going to change the font size. Oh, yes, I am. So we're going to change the font size, but I'm not going to change the background color. I'm going to leave that the way it is, so I'm going to delete that. Alright, so these are the two things that we want to change. But don't change them here, because remember, when above 880, it works fine. It's when it gets below it that we want to change these numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and change them on the top. And the reason why we do it this way, which seems kind of screwy, but the reason why we do that is that this CSS right here should be for the smallest size. It should be the small size first. So this right here is going to be how our handheld or phone, if it's looking on our phone, this is how it should be. So we're going to have to change this stuff up here, but we're going to keep the larger styles down below. Alright, so let's go find the navigation. Okay, there's A. Alright, so we want it to be block, but the padding, we want to make that a little bit smaller. Alright, so we're going to make that, instead of 45, we're going to make that 25. So I'm just going to change this. So it's going to make that a little bit narrower. The other thing I'm going to do is I want to change this from 1.5 EM and make it just 1 EM. So it will just be normal size. Alright, let's see what we've done. Let's do File and Save All. And then come down to my web page. Okay, so, and I'm going to refresh. And nothing should change. Alright, so nothing did. So now what happens when I make this wall a little bit smaller and it gets to the breakpoint? That's when it turns black. Boom. You can see now our navigations, now we have all this extra room to spare. And we really haven't done anything. Everything else is going to work fine. So there's our about, there's our sandwiches, there's our crew, there's our contact us. Everything is looking okay. Well, maybe not. Let's go down to here. Now the next breakpoint is going to be this right here. So let's go ahead and move this down. What? Okay, as you can see that we can't even get to that because the scroll bars don't show up down here. So they can't even get to the right side of that form. So this form is way too big. So we're going to have to change that. Now we can't do that with just media queries because the size of this ends up being in our HTML. So we're going to get rid of that. So let's go into our index, and what we're going to do is find where we made the size of that text area. Come on down. Alright, there's our form. So you can see that in this text area we have this, and this is what makes the size of the box. Well, just get rid of the columns 100 and rows 15. Delete it. Alright, so now it just says text area. Alright, so if I do File and Save All, and then come back in here and refresh. Nice. Okay, now it fits, but we want it to be bigger than that. So we can change that with our CSS. And what we're going to do is, we're down, let's go ahead and do the bottom, let's do the top first. Alright, so where is our form? Our form is after the sandwiches, but before the footer. So we're going to put it right in here. And we're going to say text area, okay, because that's the selector for that object. And we're going to say that we want the width to be 90. No, we want it to be small. So down here we're going to make this 60%. And let's go ahead and give it a height also. H-E-I-G-T, height. And let's just make that 400 pixels. Okay, now we do File and Save All. And come back. And refresh. Boom. Okay, that's good, but if it gets bigger, it's not going to be... We'd like to have it a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, when it gets to the huge screen, let's go back. Hey. So let's go ahead and copy this and move down to our media query, which is right down here. And right after that nav, we'll paste it in. I'll move this over. Tab, it's too much. Alright, and then when it gets big, I still don't want it to be 60%. Let's make it 90%. File and save all. And refresh. So nothing changes there, but once it gets past our breakpoint, now it takes up 90%. Probably could have made it a little bit narrower, but who cares? We got plenty of room. So now it's going to take up that much room when it gets to larger sizes. Alright, great. So that is the end of that. Now we have to go ahead and find our next breakpoint. So if I right mouse click and inspect, come on. Alright, now I come over here and I grab this. You can see that up right where my insertion point is up here. We can see that the next breakpoint is going to be break. So you can see around 550 pixels is where it breaks. Alright, that's it for now.